I need to move the camera for a minute, just so I can get my batteries. Sorry about moving the camera around. I had to get my batteries. So on the Breville toaster oven cords, they have a little U shape, and with this amp meter, it's just small enough to fit right in there. And now I can read the amperage as I turn it on. There we go. It's drawing 9. Okay, 9.9. Now it's switched to 10 amps. So I'm going to be monitoring the amperage draw as I go through the cycles and see where the problem lies. Let's keep this in the camera view so we can all monitor that at the same time. Oh, look at that, I can't stop it now. The stop button is not working. There's the first problem. What about any of the other buttons? Ooh, none of the other buttons are working.
Well, he said here. Oh, sorry.
That's okay. Okay, I can turn this is working fine. If I turn that, it changes. If I turn this, it changes. And if I when you wiggle the knob.
Wiggle the knob.
Ah, there you go. Now that I wiggled it, aha, yeah, see, there we go. I think I know what's going on here. It seems like it's being held in. Is that an error code that I just seen? It went so fast.
Yeah, when you wiggle.
There, yeah, see.
Something is loose there. Hopefully.
Yeah, I'm beginning to see what happened here. It seems like everything here is kind of like pushed in and over and back. So it's probably holding the pressure on that button, you see, because now it's not releasing. So that means that the button is staying pushed. But if I pull it away and back, see, now it released the button. I think it's an alignment issue. I don't think it's anything electronical. per se. It's not like a wiring is making a bad connection. I think the push button is just staying pushed and not releasing, so that way when you go to push it the second time, it doesn't know that you're pushing it the second time because it never came back from the first push. So now that we know, let's get opening it up and find out. This should be fixable. Probably not going to need to solder anything, so I'm going to remove my ventilation system just to give us that little bit of extra workspace. This is a big unit. In fact, what I'll do is I'll open it up on this table here because I got more room to work on this table than I do on that one. One of the things that I like about this model is they're a little bit easier to open up. You don't have to take off the bottom feet to open this one up. So just carefully handle it like that.
I thought. You know, probably what happened is when they're doing it, probably
yes.
When they were shipping it, something
it could have got pushed, yeah, or at the factory when they assembled it.
Yeah.
They may not have done the job right. Maybe it was the first one of the day and the worker just never had enough coffee on their way to work, or maybe they were tired and they just wanted to go home and it was the end of the day. Who knows? On the side we got these special torque screws. Let's just have a look at those. See, they're going to be this one or this one. And I know the YouTube viewers are going to...
I mean...
Yeah?
Nothing. I thought I said bad. I said good.
Oh, the YouTube viewers always ask me, what Torx bit are you using? So I'm gonna say it right now. It is a T10. Yeah, it's a T10. I got this off set off of Amazon, and they are the Torx. You don't need to have the center pin hollowed out in your bit. You can just use any old Torx. That's a T10. This set though does have the hollowed out centers because occasionally I run into those. But for this, you don't need it. Now, if you don't have a T10 Torx bit, you could probably get away with using a very small flathead screwdriver that would fit in there. That would be my next best option if I didn't have the correct tool. I'll also share with the viewers another tip about this particular model that's a very common issue just as soon as I get it open. Let's go back to the bottom. here. Switch back to the other bit. There's 3 in there. They're longer. We're going to keep those aside. Gloves because these are very sharp panels and you don't want to cut yourself. Okay, this can stay on. This is the seal part. Alright, now what I'm going to do before I get to this side, I'm just going to show everybody at home, or wherever you may be watching this, how this door, as I get this seal back in place, there we go. So how the door works is, if you watch here, this bracket, as you close the door, comes back, angles upwards, only to come down again on this little micro switch, and over time that becomes misaligned. So the machine will think that the door is not closed and won't want to turn on. You'll get an error code. I don't remember what the error code is. I might find out later, but I don't have that handy right now. So as you close the door, this is supposed to come down and push on that. It's not too difficult to realign it when that happens. You just got to bend the metal back and maybe tighten the spring a little bit. But this one is fine. This one's working as it should, except for the circuit board. So let's get back over to the other side. We have to figure out how to get this circuit board out so we can realign it. There's 2 screws on the top. Make sure everyone can see that. Important note, all of the different screws have different threads and different sizes, so we'll map them out so we don't get them confused. Here we have a ribbon cable, and we also have a cooling fan. I'm just going to unscrew the cooling fan. It'll be easier this way. Let me angle it upwards here. Probably going to have to take some screws out from the bottom. Again, different lengths of screws, different types of threads. Keep all that stuff in mind. start getting too many screws on one side, I go to the other side, so that way I kind of remember what goes where. There we go, we got the board off. Okay, let's go over to this table now, get a different view of this board. It's bulky because it's got a cooling fan built in it. So this is actually an air chamber of which the fan will blow the hot air out of it to keep it nice and cool. Probably the voltage rectifiers and different components get very hot on it, and to make it last longer they've decided to have it cooled. I'll put it on some nice styrofoam so that way nothing gets scratched up as I work on it. Another good thing about styrofoam is if the screws were different, you could just kind of poke the screws into the styrofoam to map them out. I don't think I need to do that in this case. So far all of the screws are looking the same, and that helps me a lot. When I go to put it back together, I don't have to think about that. Okay. Okay, let's see here. Well, there ain't much support on this board. We got one screw at the top and one screw over here. When this is on, you have extra points here that are pushing the board in. They don't have a spring on this one. On all of the toaster ovens I've ever seen, they have a spring on this button to make sure that that gets pushed back out. And on this one, I see no spring.
What is it? Like something is missing?
It's very possible at the factory they forgot to put a spring on here, or they're just counting on this plastic to be the spring, because there is a spring-loaded plastic here, but I wouldn't count on that to be enough. Especially when plastic, If it gets cold, it becomes brittle. If it gets too hot, it could also become brittle. It'll lose its, I don't know what to call it, buoyancy. But now have a looky here. Inside these larger buttons, they got springs here and here. Got 2 springs in those, but they didn't put any on the stop button. So I think what I'm going to do is hunt for a spring, and that should solve the problem. Want to go to the be right back mode while I look for that spring? Should only take me a couple minutes. I think I know where. So here's the good news, got a spring.
Or probably they even, but sometimes they forget to put stuff in the manufacturing manual.
Yeah.
Oh, what was that?
Oh, it's just some cars outside driving.
Another collision again.
They're overtaking the other vehicle when they're not supposed to be. You got to make sure that these line up, and they're lining up, and the push features work. Okay. Oh yes, they'll hear that.
Oh, okay.
That's just the printer going in the background.
Like almost done anyway.
Making sure that this ribbon cable is seated properly too. I really don't think that that has anything to do with it. I think it had to do with that spring not being there. Okay.
Okay, I'm glad. What happened?
It's a lot better now.
Probably they just forgot or they didn't.
The
Maybe
t-
just accidentally deleted the thing, the spring
yeah.
in the line, manufacturing line. If that's the case, it's lucky to get that machine.
All right. That should do it. Let's get it all back together and test it. Okay, we'll switch back over to the camera on this side. just plugging in the ribbon cable. You didn't miss much. It's okay. And there are 2 screws under here, by the way, so these you have to take off the foot first, and then underneath the foot, which is this thing here, you'll find 2 more screws that go up into here. And those I set over here because they're, again, different size threading and different length. So we'll put this back on like this, and put that back like underneath, back up there. First thing we do is we put these 2 screws under here. Careful not to over tighten. And then I'm going to put the foot back on. Let's not forget that's very important. And okay, on these fans they have a directional flow, usually in a little arrow indicating which way it goes. On this one they didn't put the arrow. But that's okay because I know how I took it out. It goes this way. So okay, if you're at home and you've forgotten which way it goes, the label with the wires goes on the inside. So when you got it in like this, you don't see no labels and you don't see no wires other than the ones that come out this little notch. And then these screws are the longer skinny screws that hold that in place. Again, be careful not to over tighten anything. Good. Okay. I can actually test this out before I put it all back together. I'll bring it over to the next table where I can plug it in. Here we go. Just move these batteries out of the way. And I gotta be careful because there's a fan that's going to turn here. I don't want the wires to touch that. So I'll keep it like this. Okay, turn the power on. Let's go through the cycles here. We got toast, toast. And then can I turn up and down the darkness? Yes, I can. Slices, I can turn it up to 9 slices in this one. That's a lot of slices of toast. Down to 1 slice, back up to 9 slices. That's working good. Let's see if I could just go like maybe 4 slices. Start. I'm drawing 14 amps of power on the meter over there. Stop.
So even if you wiggle it, it won't work. It's working properly.
Okay, I'll try it on bake. And I'm going to wiggle it. It's not cutting out.
It's not stopped, right?
Drawing 11 amps of power and bake. Let me check all the other buttons here. The Fahrenheit to Celsius. So 320 Fahrenheit. If I turn it up to 350 standard, that will be 175 Celsius. That button works. The phase cook. Okay, I want the light. Let's try the light. There we go. Light works. Now if I open it up, the light should also come on, and it does. I'm still drawing 11 amps. Even when I open it up in the middle of baking, it's still heating. It hasn't reached its preheat yet. If I want to stop it, I can stop it now. If I wiggle it, it doesn't turn itself on. That's good. We don't want that to happen. But now say I want to cook something, let's do an air fry. And start. Oh, listen to that fan go. That is really fast. Drawing 14 amps. So I would suggest plugging this into its own circuit breaker that's at least capable of running 15 amps all by itself. Yeah, I just had to put a spring in it and realign things. It is a special spring. It's the original manufacturer spring. Please don't ask how I got it. I just happen to have one. And it works fine. It does the job perfectly. So now I'll go up to broil. Getting back to the power circuit that you plug this into, if you're sharing it with a microwave, with a blender, with a kettle, with a refrigerator, it's probably gonna, blow your circuit breaker and trip it out, or the fuse, depending on what you have. If it's the glass fuse, it'll blow the glass fuse. If it's a circuit breaker, it'll switch the circuit breaker off, because this draws a lot of amperage. This is drawing like the full amount that standard household can handle, which is 15 amps. So that's why I say if you're going to use it with anything else shared on the line, make sure that you have everything else on standby when you're using this. Otherwise you might come back into the kitchen and find out that your refrigerator kicked on, and now all of a sudden what you were baking is not being baked at all, and the stuff in your fridge is getting cold because it tripped out. So just keep that in mind. Some people have 25 amp lines installed in their home for this purpose. It's a thicker gauge wire in the wall and a special type of an outlet, but you would be able to use this plug in there. So you could look into that if you need to. But for the most part, as long as you're just running this alone on its own line, it should be fine. Let's try the pizza setting. Again, I'll wiggle the buttons. Nothing's cutting in and out. Nothing's happening there. That's good. I wonder if I'm going to get more like this coming into the shop. If that was a production run defect, or what happened there. It'll be interesting to see if people even comment on the YouTube video, or if they have the same problem, if they could just let us know. Yeah, definitely. Because that's working great now. Alright, I feel confident I can put the cover back on it and put all the screws back in. So I'm going to unplug it, and I'll go back over to the other table where I can put the cover back. This is a very nice toaster oven. I wouldn't mind having one of these myself. Very nice. Now, okay, another thing I'll just point out, over time, this circle is where that fan goes, so you might see dust building up here, blocking the holes. If you do, just grab a vacuum and clean it out. That way it'll keep everything nice and cool. Oh, I'm taking the wrong screws. Okay, I gotta replace that one with the correct screw. These screws are for the other underneath part. These are the ones for the back. Before I get too many screws in there, I gotta just make sure that I got all of the door seal correct. So what we do is we open it up and we look around here, just make sure it's all lining up nicely. And it is. Yep, okay, that's good. Just be very gentle there. Okay. Back over to the number 10 torque for these two side screws. This around. Now I have the torque bit in now. I'll just do the side screws first. Again, this is the air vent that helps cool the whole unit, the display unit. Back to the other bit for the other three screws here. It's going to be in the description, but just in case somebody wants to hear what model number it is, after I finish getting this screw in here, I'll just read out the model number out loud. This is the Breville toaster oven model BOV900. And then there's a space BSSUSC. Another space, and there's a line and the letter A. So I'll say it one more time phonetically. It's model Bravo Oscar Victor 900 space Bravo Sierra Sierra Uniform Sierra Charlie space a line and then the letter A like alpha. Very nice unit. There we go, and just slip this tray in the bottom. Now that it's all back together, I'm going to bring it back over to the table for one final test before it gets returned to the owner. Just so that way we can be that much more sure that we have solved the problem. Do we switch the camera view?
Hi, sorry. There.
There we go. Okay, it's okay. Okay, so open door, light comes on. Closed door, light goes off. In a minute, it will. And then I go up to the bake, push the button, start. Starts right away. I wiggle the stuff around. Nothing turns it on or off or on or any which way. Only when I push the button, it'll go out. And push the button, it'll come on. Push the light button, it goes out, comes on. What's that?
He said he will sell it for 350 because he heard you that you like it. If only he knew we have one.
I appreciate the offer. Okay, that is a job completed. I'll just set it down on this table over here to cool it down.
Yeah, he's far on that one. That's a good one.
Yeah.
Very nice. I love it. I like it when the customer defeated those sellers.
Yes. Exactly.
Yeah. That's really good. It's like their loss. He defeated them. That's it. Period. It's really good.
You know what happens? Sometimes, this is very normal. Sometimes you find 2 screws left over and then you have to open up things again because I know exactly where those go. They go on the top. I have to open up the panel one more time.
What happened?
I forgot to put these 2 top screws in the circuit board that hold it right here.
Oh.
So I'm just gonna, they were hiding behind my batteries. I didn't notice them. So that'll only take 2 seconds. I'll just open that up and put those 2 screws. I have to have every screw back in place, otherwise I'm not happy. So let's do that. This is how detailed we are. If we even find 1 or 2 screws left out, we gotta go back and finish the job right. lot of extra work just for 2 screws, so next time I'm going to make sure that I don't forget any. See, that's where they go, right there. Right there. Okay, let's get those in there right now before I forget again. There we go. I just want to check, make sure that the seal is nice all the way around the rim here. Yep, good. Okay.
Test it again.
Yeah, I will, because I had it open again. I'm going to test it one more time. This time we got everything accounted for. So just like how I forgot those 2 screws, maybe the person at the factory forgot the spring. But they didn't take the time to go back in to put it.
Well, it's meant for him.
Yeah. There you go. Okay, and test it out again. Let's come back over to this table. Tray back in. The light comes on when I open the door. And go to toast. Let's make it medium darkness and 4 slices. Starts up right away, nice. Drawing 14 amps there. Okay. Stop button works. Let's go down to the bake. 350 Fahrenheit to Celsius button works. Defrost working. Phase cook working. Convection super and normal. Yep, all works. Okay, let's start baking here. And if I wiggle it back and forth, this buttons, nothing's cutting out now. Good. If I want to stop it, easy to do. And if I want to go to, let's say, pizza again, start that up there. Yep, wiggle things around again. Stop that and go to air fry. Smooth sounding fan. Okay. Alright. That's good.
Fixed.
Fixed.